Hey everyone, I wanted to share with you this short practice that focuses on hip abduction, the action of the hip or thigh bone moving away from the midline. The practice itself will primarily focus on strengthening the hip abductors, so the muscles responsible for stabilizing the hip as well as externally rotating it. This will serve you in your practice with postures like balancing on one leg, as well as your warrior two poses such as warrior two itself or side angle pose, triangle pose, even Ardha Chandrasana or half moon. You will need a block, and we'll start by lying on our back. When you come to lie down, have your feet around mat distance apart and let your knees fall together for a constructive rest. Palms resting on the front of your hips, so the hip crests. And if you feel like the knees are not able to fall together completely, perhaps walk the feet a little bit closer together. Close your eyes. And take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Very slowly inhale. And just as slowly exhale. Try to feel your breath moving down your spine into the bowl of the pelvis. Breathe in. And breathe out. Let's start to move our knees from side to side. Try to visualize the windshield wipers of a car. And in moving your legs like this, you'll get the movement of internal rotation and adduction, as well as external rotation and abduction. Okay, the next time that your knees end up pointing towards your left side, pause or stay. And if it feels okay for your lower back, you can bring your left ankle on top of the right knee. If you feel like this is too early for you, then by all means keep your left ankle on the floor. Now, for those of you who are stacking the ankle above the thigh, gently press both into each other. Breathe in. And as you exhale, lengthen the tailbone towards the front part of the mat. Okay, release the left ankle back to the floor. Bring your knees up towards center and then guide them towards the right. Pause. Can you for a moment feel the inner left knee moving itself towards the ground, although it may not touch? And either stay here or bring the right ankle on top of the left thigh. So it's a little bit towards the knee. And while the right ankle, the top leg is heavy and it presses lightly down, feel the bottom thigh, in this case the left thigh, resisting and pressing into the outer right ankle. Okay, you're going to breathe in and guide your left hip bone up in towards the low belly. Breathe out. Bring the right foot onto the floor. Let your knees move again like windshield wipers from side to side. And then with your knees pointing up, walk your feet to about hip distance. And then we'll place our right ankle on top of our left thigh. And for the moment, just keep your left heel on the ground and see if you can press the right thigh, the inner right thigh, away from the body. And you're doing this without your hands. You're seeing if you can use or harness the strength of your right hip, the right glute, to press that thigh bone away from you towards the front part of your mat. And then just relax that effort. Lift your left heel off the floor so the shin bone is in line with your mat. Breathe in. And as you exhale, left thigh presses into the outside of the right ankle, and the right ankle presses back into the left thigh. And hopefully in doing this, You feel a toning through the top of your left hip, and you feel a toning in the outside of your right leg. Okay, let your left heel come down onto the floor, pause, and take a breath. Now this time I'm going to ask you to grab onto the edges of your mat. Hold onto the edges of your mat with your hands. Feel like you're gently pulling the mat out from underneath your back. Lift your left heel up. Now the whole while that we move our leg in a moment, I want you to keep your right ankle and left thigh pressing against each other. So bring your left leg straight towards the front of your mat. Don't let it touch the floor. Keep pushing your right ankle and left thigh together. Bend your left knee. Feel your thigh pushing the ankle towards your stomach, towards the chest. And then we're going to repeat. Straighten the left leg. Bring it towards the front part of your mat. Let it hover. And then bend your left knee, pushing that thigh towards the stomach. Again, the whole time the right ankle is pressed into the left leg. Again, straighten the left leg, reach it forward. And then bend your left knee, draw it in. Okay, one more time with your left leg straightening towards the front. And then as you exhale, press that left leg into the right ankle and then pause here with your right thigh moving away from you. Okay, if you want, lift your chin and look at your inner right thigh and try to press that inner thigh away from the face even more. Now lower your left heel onto the ground, lower the head if it's lifted, and then walk your left foot over towards the right side of your yoga mat. And as it does so, lower your left knee to the floor and just start to open up through the hips. Now if this is really strong for you, you feel like it's a bit too much pressure on your low back or the knees, then slide your right ankle so it's more on the left calf or maybe towards the left ankle itself. Breathe in. And lengthen your tailbone towards the front part of your mat. Breathe out. Okay, stay here. Inhale. And minimize the extension of your lumbar spine. Exhale. Okay, bring your right foot on the floor, left foot on the floor, and with your feet a little bit wider, again, windshield wiper through the thighs. Okay, we're going to bring our knees to point straight up towards the ceiling. Walk the feet so they're about hip distance apart and then left ankle to right thigh. Now stay here, breathe in, and then as you exhale, direct the inner part of your left leg away from the belly. Okay, another way to think about it is the outside of your left thigh moving towards the front and down. As you're doing this, just notice if your hips are askew. Try to maintain the pelvis level, not only to the floor, but also in relationship to your upper body. Last breath. And then just relax the action of your left leg pushing away. Lift your right shin bone so it's parallel to the ground. Breathe in, and then exhale, repeat the left thigh pressing forward. Only this time, additionally, root the ankle and thigh together. That is the left ankle and right thigh. Squeeze them in tight. Now, lower your right foot. Take a breath. Take pause. Grab onto the edges of your yoga mat. Feel like you're pulling the mat out from underneath your back, and once more lift the right shin. Breathe in. And then begin to straighten the right leg all the way towards the front. Keep the leg hovering. And then exhale, bend your knee, right thigh hugs in towards the stomach. Okay, right leg straightening, reaching towards the front. Exhale, bend your knee and press the thigh strongly into the ankle. Inhale, feel like your left ankle is pushing into the thigh in order to straighten the leg. Exhale, bend, press tightly towards the belly. Again, straighten the right leg as your left ankle roots into the right thigh, and then bend your knee in towards the stomach. Pause. Hold here, breathe in, and get the inner left thigh further away from the abdomen. Breathe out. And then release your right foot to the floor. Toe heel the foot towards the left side of your yoga mat, and then start to lower the right leg. So the idea would be like you're in a double pigeon pose, a square pose on your back. But again, there's going to be some of us who will slide or lift the left ankle and rather rest it on the right calf or the right ankle itself. Breathe in. Now here's where I want you to really work on lengthening the tailbone forward. Breathe out. So when your tailbone lengthens forward, can you feel how it helps to Further, externally rotate the hips. Inhale deep. And as you exhale, think of pulling the hip crests into the lower part of the stomach. Now release left foot and right foot to the floor. Now we're going to keep our feet about hip width apart. Heels underneath the knees so the shin bones are completely vertical. And then curl your tailbone under and begin to lift your hips. Place both of your hands on top of your thighs with your elbows mostly straight. Now take your hips and lower them about halfway towards your mat. Curl the tailbone under and then press your thighs up into the palms. Again, there's a slight lowering of the hips, a curling of the tail between the legs, and then press the thighs strongly into the hands up into the sky. Do that again. Lower your hips halfway towards the ground. Lengthen the tail towards the back of your knees and then press through the heels to lift the thigh bones up, and then reach both of your arms over your head alongside your ears. Your palms are facing the sky. If it's possible, press down through your fingernails. Certainly press through the heels and feel like the hip bones can rise higher. And then very slowly lower the spine until your hips are down on your mat, and then you're going to join the soles of your feet together. Open up the knees for a reclined bound angle pose, Supta Baddha Konasana. Okay, breathing in and breathing out. Inhale and exhale. Now, much like bridge, we're going to lift the hips, but for the most part, we are going to keep our feet together. So we're very much going to stay in this reclined bound angle shape, but we're going to lift the hips. So breathe in. As you exhale, press through the outer feet and lift your hips up. Now, when your pelvis begins to lift up and away from the floor, the knees might want to close together. So think much like a book, like you're continuing to open that book up. Lower your hips about halfway to the ground, curl the tailbone forward, and press the hips upwards. Now your hips are not going to be as high as they were in bridge pose. Lower the hips down, inhale. Exhale, lengthen the tail towards the heels, and as you exhale, keep the hips abducting, but lift the pelvis higher. Let's do that one more time. Take your pelvis about halfway towards the floor. Curl your tail towards the front part of your mat, and then keep the thighs abducting as you press up through the hips. Now stay here, and then we're going to tip our right knee towards the right side of our mat. Now some of you will be able to physically touch the floor with your right knee, and some of you may not. Just direct the knee towards the floor. Keep your pelvis lifted, the tailbone curled. Breathe in, and as you exhale, peel the inner left thigh away from the right side. Okay, inhale, and as you exhale, press the right leg into the floor, but peel the inner left thigh further to the left. So actively abduct the hips. Take one more breath and root the right shin bone into the floor. Exhale, left thigh presses over to the left. Now center your pelvis, breathe in, and then we're going to do that on the left side. Exhale, tip your left knee or left calf towards the floor. Curl your tailbone under, and then as you exhale, try to open the inner right thigh towards the right. Press your left shin into the ground. Use the feedback of the ground as you exhale, right inner leg moving away from the midline even more. Can you lift the pelvis higher, lengthen the tailbone forward, exhale, press through the left shin and peel the right thigh further towards the right side as you slowly center the pelvis and then lower the spine. Lower your hips and then take your feet on the ground, mat distance apart, and let the knees come together for constructive rest. Okay, breathe in and breathe out. Okay, feet hip distance apart. Take your right ankle on top of the left thigh, and then we're going to slowly tip our legs to our left so that the right sole of foot ends up on the ground and the left outer thigh also to the floor. Now breathe in, and as we did a little bit earlier, exhale, press the inner right thigh away from you. In other words, try to find more abduction and a bit of external rotation through that right hip. Use the feedback of the floor and press the left leg into the ground. Now, as best as you can, try to keep your right leg both abducting and externally rotating, and see if you can hover the right sole of foot off of the ground. Now let the right sole of foot lift, but continue to press the inner thigh away from you whilst the Left thigh, left outer shin, calf presses in towards the floor. Now from this position, I want you to slowly internally rotate the hip so that your heel ends up in line with the knee. And then I want you to kick your right foot off towards the left so the right leg is straight. Now in a moment, we're gonna abduct this right leg, but the whole time I want the left leg to press into the floor. Breathe in and then exhale, reach your right foot to the ceiling and all the way towards the right side. Keep pushing the outer left leg down. We're gonna lower the right leg back towards the left like your thigh bones stack. Inhale, and then as you exhale, abduct the hip. Press the thigh as far to the right as you can while pressing the outer left leg in towards the floor. We're gonna do that one more time. Lower the right leg towards the left. Breathe in, and then as you exhale, actively abduct by pressing the outer right foot towards the right, and then stay in this position. Feel as though you can split the insides of your legs apart as strongly as you can, and then bend your right knee, foot to the ground. Lift your left knee, pointing it up towards the sky, and then stretch your arms over your head. Breathe in. Exhale, curl your tailbone under, lift your pelvis, lift your spine, and then bring both of your hands on tops of your thighs. Inhale, exhale, press the thighs into the palms. Lower your spine towards the floor, lower your hips, and then just take a moment of pause, relax. Okay, we're gonna do that on the left side, left ankle to right thigh. And then very slowly tip your legs towards the right. Okay, slowly bring the legs down onto the floor on your right side so that the left sole of foot ends up connected to the ground. Now for some of us, the right thigh, at least the outer part of our right leg, may not touch the ground completely, but the effort is trying to press it towards the floor. Breathe in here, and as you breathe out, left inner leg pushing away from the abdomen. Okay, breathe in, and then again, as you exhale, try to root or press the outer left leg towards the front part of your mat. Now, while the right leg roots into the floor, can we hover the left sole of foot? Now, as our left sole of foot hovers, just notice how the left leg wants to maybe come towards the stomach. Keep pushing it away from you as best as you can from the strength of your hip. Recruit the muscles of the glute and press the left leg a bit more forward. Now I want you to very slowly feel the rotation of your thigh so that your heel ends up in line with the knee, so find a bit of internal rotation. And you're gonna straighten the left leg so that your foot kicks off towards the right side and your legs end up somewhat parallel, okay? There's a wall here, so I can't do it completely. Now exhale, root the outer right leg into the floor. Breathe in, and then as we exhale, we're gonna reach our left leg up and actively abduct by pressing it towards the left. Make sure your right knee presses into the earth. Inhale, left leg moving towards the right. And then as you exhale, actively split the legs apart. So as your leg is moving towards the left, don't let the right thigh lift. Keep pushing it down. Inhale, leg comes towards the right side, almost like you could squeeze the insides of the legs together. And then exhale, open that up where you're going to pause. I want you to summon as much strength up as you can as you press down through the outside of your right leg and press the inner left thigh further to the left. Again, take a full breath and push through the outside of your right shin as your left leg presses a bit more towards the left. And then left foot towards the ground. Right sole of foot towards the mat, shin bones completely vertical, and then we'll stretch both of our arms over our head. Inhale, exhale, curl your tailbone, lift your hips, and place both of your palms on tops of the thighs. Okay, take the hips about halfway towards the earth, curl the tailbone under, and lift the pelvis high. Take one more deep breath. Spine lowers, so does the pelvis. And then slide your hands towards the outer edges of your feet, Ananda Balasana, happy baby pose. And then bring both of your feet straight up towards the sky. Okay, we're going to start rounding it out here. Interlock the fingers behind your head. We're going to breathe in and lift the upper back up and away from the yoga mat. Elbows stay wide, throat is open. Allow your left leg to come towards the floor, let it hover. And then I want you to think of scissoring the legs. Press your left leg to the right and your right leg to the left. Squeeze between the groins. We're going to bend the knees, keep your feet apart, and then grab onto the outer edges of your feet or the outer ankles for Supta Gomukhasana, or reclined cow face pose. And then just allow yourself to find a bit of release, maybe a deep release through those outer hips. Let this be more of a stretch. And sometimes when I teach this pose, I can see that some students may not feel much. So if that's you, think of pressing the low spine and sacrum into floor, or perhaps trying to find one line from heel to heel. Get the shin bones to be straight across. Okay, release your hands, release the feet, place them on the ground. Take a moment of pause. Okay, send both of your feet up into the air, and then interlock the fingers at the back part of your head. With your breath in, lift your upper back. Resist the urge to close the throat or the elbows, elbows wide, throat open. And this time we're gonna lower our right leg towards the ground, let it hover. Scissor the legs. Press your right leg to the left, your left leg to the right. Squeeze thoroughly through the inner thighs. Gentlemen, be careful here. And then we're gonna bend our knees, reach the hands for the outer edges of the feet. Again, this could also be the ankles. Oh la la. And then we're lying down and we're gently pulling in. And although the low back might be lifted, think of unraveling the spine towards the earth. Reach your tailbone towards the front part of your yoga mat. And release. Let's come back to a constructive rest. Feet about mat distance apart, knees fall together. Close your eyes. Feel the energy around your hips. Think of your exhalation being an invitation to soften a bit more. And we're going to close out our practice here. I thank you all for joining and practicing with me today. Until we see each other again. Namaste.